So today we are going to be making the coaster set that you saw in the thumbnail. While I was cleaning out my hall closet, I found these really cute little snowflakes that we had left over from Christmas. I also want to show you my new gloves. Look at those. So now I'll have gloves on all my projects because all the finger condoms are officially gone. Yay! So anyway, I found these really cute little snowflakes, and they're actually like little ornaments. I'm pretty sure I got them at the Dollar Tree because I recognize the packaging. So I'm going to just cut them off these little, you know, little clear fishing line. I'm just gonna cut all those off. I'm only gonna use 4 of them. I don't know what we'll do with that little last remainder. He will have to be for something else. So I'm just going to pour my epoxy and then set them in there once we get it good and filled up. And I just want to make sure I get all the little string off because I don't want any extra pieces sticking up out of my epoxy. Okay, I'm going to set those to the side. Now we're going to mix epoxy. I'm going to use my really old beat up food scale because you want to make sure that you mix your epoxy in equal parts. This is really important. I've had this scale for like, I don't even know, like 2 years now. It's got epoxy dried all over the top of it, but it still works. So that's what we're going to use today. You gotta make sure it's not sitting on top of your bowl so it'll be level. I use little rubber, these are little Tupperware cups I got at the Dollar Tree. They are the perfect amount to hold epoxy for me because I usually do bigger batches, so this is a perfect batch amount for me. So I'm going to mix up about 50 grams of part A and 50 grams of part B to make 100 grams total. I know a lot of other people measure theirs in milliliters. I just use the grams because that's what it's already set on, and yeah. So you want to make sure that's at 50. I try to get it right on the mark because you want to equal parts. If it's, you know, 53 of one kind and 50 of another, it's not going to set. Your piece, oh, I just spray painted me. Great. Anyway, if you do 50 of one kind and 50 of another kind, your piece may not set. They need to be equal parts exactly. Wait, did I just do part A or part B? Shoot. Okay, hold on, y'all. I'm back now. I had a minute. I couldn't remember which part that I used, so I had to go back and rewatch our video so that I didn't mix 2 of the same parts because that would have been a disaster. That's how you waste epoxy. It was the spray paint's fault. Anyway, we're mixing equal parts. I got 50. Now I'm going in with my resin. The first one is hardener. I want 100 grams total. The resin usually comes out faster than the hardener. One is going to be thick, one is going to be thinner. Just make sure it's equal parts. So now I'm done with my food scale. Got my handy dandy spatula. And now I'm just going to stir those 2 parts together. And I'm just making sure that I mix all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to mix for about 2 or 3 minutes. You'll want to mix slower than me so that you can avoid bubbles. I'm mixing pretty fast because I'm not going to make y'all watch me mix for the whole 3 minutes. But the slower you mix, the better, because you'll avoid bubbles in your final project and you'll have to apply less heat. So, as you can see, I got lots of little bubbles popping out, flying out. You just want to make sure you're constantly scraping the bottoms and the sides. You want your epoxy to be clear all the way through. You see mine is kind of hazy right now. It's not quite done. So we're just stirring, 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 scraping all the way around my bowl. You have to look at my ugly little desktop. Like, when I tell you I put work in this craft room, like, it is not a game. This is all beat up from epoxy and alcohol inks and whatever. I'm a messy crafter. It's okay. This is actually like an old piece I found off Facebook. So we're still mixing. And it looks like we're good now. Mine does have a lot of bubbles in the top, so it's hard to tell that it's clear, but it is actually clear all the way through now. Okay. So I've got my mold. I've got my snowflakes. I'm going to pick out my mica powder. So let's see what I want to use for this one. I keep all my mica powders in this basket. I know it's not very organized, but like, this is the story of my life here, y'all. I've got this pale blue one that I'm going to use for sure. And then got some glitter in here and mica powder. So let's see. Dark blue, like a turquoise. So should we use the sky blue or the pale blue? I think I'm going to use the sky blue actually, and I'm going to pair it with pearl white. Since it's, you know, snowflake, blue and white, frozen, those all go together for me. And then for the glitter, I will be using Glitterful Ola. If you haven't ordered from them, please do. They have fabulous shipping, lots of great colors. In fact, one of their group members gifted me a sublimination box, which is like their monthly kit. And this is what I received. So we've got this really cute studded kiss, which is like a red holographic vine. We've got Cruella, and it is a black, white, and red, like medium chunky mix. It's really pretty. I have an idea for that one already. We've got Starfruit, which is this really pretty neon yellow, like almost sunflower softball, which I know is hard for a lot of people to find. So if you are looking for a softball cup, that's going to be one of your good bets. I don't know the color of this, the name of this one, because it doesn't have a label. It is from Glitterful though. It's little black, tiny holographic diamond. It's beautiful. I've used that on a lot of pieces already. And then Pretty in Pink. I haven't used this yet. It is a pink holographic pine. So that's what I got going on, but I'm going to use the Olaf, which I ordered. It didn't come in the sublimation kit, but I've got lots of Glitterful all through my room. That's just what I have on my desk. Well, that's not even all that I have on my desk, but you get the point. So anyway, this is what we're going to do. I've got my epoxy. As you can see, all my air bubbles have come to the top. So I've let it sit for a minute while I pick my colors out. A lot of them are coming up to the top to pop. So that's really what I want. I'm going to go ahead and scrape that off. I'm going to use two. How should I do this? I'm going to start with the glitter portion first. So I'm just going to pour a little bit out of my main cup into this small little plastic cup. These are from the Dollar Tree too. They are the little, what are those called? Condiment cups, like you would use for salad dressing and stuff like that. So I've got my thing. I'm going to pour just a little bit of glitter in it. Okay, that's not going to work. I'm right-handed. Camera's on the right side. Okay, so we're going to pour just a little bit of glitter in. Not a ton. Like a teaspoon. And we're going to stir it together. Figure out how much I've got. If I need more, I do. I also am going to put a little bit more epoxy in. Now you can always mix another batch of epoxy. And when I'm working on large projects like this, I guess this is like a small medium project, but it's more than epoxy than I would normally mix up for a tumbler. So I just mix them up in small batches. And then I can always go back in and add and mix another batch. And it's better to do that than to mix up like a huge 1 cup at a time, because my epoxy is going to cure before I can get all the way through and mix all my colors. And I might have a lot left over. And if you don't have molds or another project lined up to use that leftover epoxy, it's just going to get wasted. So I prefer to work in small batches, but work however is best for you. So I've got my mold. This mold is a coaster mold, a coaster puzzle mold from Resin. It's 5 pieces. I purchased it on Amazon. I will put the link in the description below for you. It's like $10, and it came with 2 different ones, one that was pointed and one that was wavy on the edges. I use a lot of their molds. Almost all of my molds come from Resin. I actually don't think I have any that don't come from them. So I use a lot of their molds in my work. They're really good quality. I haven't had an issue with them yet, and this is not a sponsored ad, just so y'all know. I'm only going to tell you or refer you to products that I actually use. So I just mixed another little cup with another little batch of glitter. And I'm just going in and trying to make them all kind of even. Now, they're not all going to be exactly even. And once you put them together, you'll be able to see like the little difference. They won't be a perfect circle. But each one is unique, and that's part of the process. Okay, so that's the glitter there. Let me just scrape out this last little bit so I can reuse this cup. I'm going to put this last little bit in the middle. The middles, you can do solids, you can do it one color, whatever you prefer. I usually end up mixing a little bit of all the pieces to put in the middle, but we'll see. So now I'm going to work on this part. And for this part, I'm going to do the blue and the white. So I've got my cup of clear, and I've got my little cup again. I'm going to split it 50-50. Split my big cup 50-50. And then I'm going to mix a dab of powder into each cup. Now, if you have more smaller cups, you can always use that. Currently, my craft room is a mess, and I can't find anything because I haven't cleaned it after my Christmas rush. And yes, I know it's January 20th, but I promise I've really been working in and out of the craft room, so it just hasn't been that big of a priority. So I just use a little dab, and I'm talking like small. I will show you the amount. Like this much. That is just like not even a teaspoon. It is like the smallest little amount. These are from Inscraft. And when I tell you that pigments go so much further, I've had the same pack of pigments for like almost a year now, and I still haven't made it. Oh, I can't get the bag open with my gloves. Teeth to the rescue. Anyway, I've had the same pack of pigments for about a year, and I use so little, the bags last forever. See how much I'm using of that? Hardly anything. The bags last forever. And the pigments are so, I don't know, pigmented, that they're very bold, and a little goes a long way. So I'm going to mix up my white first. And with the mica powders, you want to make sure that you mix it all in really good. You don't want any chunks. You don't want any like little pockets of powder that don't get mixed in, because they will not just dissolve in the epoxy. You'll just see little chunks and stuff in your project. That's why I like to use these little spatulas that I got off Etsy. If I can find them again, I will give you the link. But they're like literally just little plastic spatulas. I'm sure you can use little paint spatulas from Michael, but they're so helpful because I can just smash the epoxy up against the corners of the bowl to make sure that it all got mixed in really well. So we got the blue done. or we got the white done. Now we're gonna mix the blue. And you can see how like a little bit of that powder really does go a long way because that color is very saturated. And that's exactly what I'm looking for. Maybe a little more than what I was looking for, but that's okay. I didn't really want it to match my gloves, but that'll work for today. Oh, on camera it looks really beautiful. So that's the blue. And that was the sky blue. And this was the pearly white. So I'm going to put my blue in first. And I'm just going to do that a little bit. Hold on, I got tried epoxy my mold. Okay. I'm just going to do a little bit. Because I don't want the main focus to be blue. And I'm just going to go in on the edges. And my epoxy, that first layer, my room is warm, so it's already started to spread. That's what epoxy is going to do. I mean, it's self-leveling. So I'm just going to take my little scraper and just scrape it back into that corner. Like that. And then I'm going to pour my epoxy on the edge. And then we'll go in with the white. Okay, so I've got that blue all on there. So now I'm going to take the cup of white and I'm just going to go right in between the two layers. And I just want enough to, it's not going to fill this mold all the way up to the top, but that's okay because I'm going to go back over with a layer of clear just to bring it all the way up to the top of the mold and make sure that they're even. And make sure that our snowflake piece is securely covered and deep down in there. So I'm only going to go halfway with this. So I've got my handy dandy Wagner heat gun that we got from Lowe's, Home Depot. This is old too. That's why it's covered. This is the working woman's room. So, handy dandy heat gun, came from Lowe's, got it for 20 bucks. You can get it from a lot of places. You can get a smaller, less hot one from Michael for about 20 bucks too, but I do recommend just go to Home Depot and get the hot one. You know, I have more heat for my project, which makes the bubbles pop faster. It's not an open flame because I don't want to set my project on fire because I'm not really a girl who should be around fire. You don't want to see me around fire. And the little ones from Michael, they don't have a lot of heat. So you have to really get the nozzle down on there. And I don't feel like they have a lot of blowing pressure either. So I prefer the real heat gun. So I'm just going to put it on high. Give it a quick, let me turn this off so you'll be able to hear me. We are going to give this a very quick blow with high heat. I'm talking like hit it and quit it. You know, when you see your ex at the grocery store and you don't want to say hi, so you just say hi and keep on pushing your cart real fast till your legs burn down the aisle. That's exactly what we're going to do today. Real quick. Hit it and quit it just to blow that line out. So your mold can shrink. It can melt. I'm not trying to waste any of my investment. So real quick. High heat. Just enough to blend that line. Just enough. We're just popping bubbles and blending the line. That's all I want to do. Okay, so that's all the heat I'm going to use. That's it. I'm not going to apply any more. What I'm going to do is now that all the bubbles, I would normally use the heat to manipulate where I wanted my epoxy to go. But all I'm going to do this time is use it to pop the bubbles. And then I'm going to take like this little dental pick thing that I got. It's not dental. It came from Harbor Freight. But it's just like pointy on the end. You can use this. You can use the end of your scissors. You can use a pen. Whatever you have available. And I'm just going to put just the tip in, and on the edge where those two colors meet, I'm just doing tiny little circles. Just to kind of mix it so that that line is not harsh. It's not going to stay in those perfect circles because epoxy is self-leveling. But it's a way to help blend and get a pretty gradient line without applying heat. I'm just doing quick little circles, not scratching or poking through the bottom of my mold. Just mixing things up a little bit. Alright, now I'm going to take the snowflakes that we had earlier, and I'm literally just going to put them right into the epoxy. And I'm going to line them up where I want them to be. And I'm just going to push them down and give them a little tap so that they're really down to the bottom of my mold. I don't want them sitting up on the top because my stuff is going to have a tendency to float up anyway. Whatever you put in epoxy has a tendency to float. So you want to make sure you got them pushed down and that they're on the bottom. I'm going to let these sit for about 30 minutes. When I come back to do my 30-minute check, I'm going to push them down again. And I'm going to come back to do another check 30 minutes after that. And I may or may not have to push them down again depending on how much my epoxy has cured. They're going to float a little bit. That's okay. That's why I said don't fill your molds up all the way to the top. That way when you come back, we can do a flood coat after about 2 or 3 hours. And that'll cover all those up. So again, push down, come back, do your 30-minute checks. I know some people just pour and walk away. I never do that. I always come back to do my checks. And then I'll show you the flood coat next. Okay, guys. So, it's been way longer than 30 minutes. My coasters are good and set. When I ran my finger over the snowflakes, I can just barely feel them. Like, I could probably get away without doing another layer because they've sunken in there. But I just want to make sure that they're really good and in there. So I've got my epoxy that I just mixed up. This is all clear. And I'm just going to, pour it in these coasters, molds, until it comes full up to the top. And I'm just going to use my little spatula guy here just to spread it out. Now, with these coasters, it's important to make sure that you scrape those center pieces. You don't want those to be all covered up with the epoxy because that's going to be a lot more sanding that you'll have to do at the end. So just use your little spatula to spread it out, get it through there evenly. And I'm going to mix up one more little batch of epoxy, just a really small one to fill in that last coaster there. My middle part is already super full, so I don't need to add anything more to that. I filled that up all on the first time. So I'm just making sure that I get all the way out to the edges and everything in the mold is covered up. That's important because even though when you put the design together, it's not going to be a perfect circle for the glitter and whatnot, you do want them to all be the same height. You want them to be even and uniform. So make sure that you're taking the time to spread it out and come up to the top. And then you see how I'm just lightly scraping over the middle, just to make sure there's not a bunch of loose epoxy. And I'm doing that on the sides too. I want it to be completely even and smooth all the way up to the top. Okay? So we're going to do that. We're going to hit it with a little bit of heat. And when you see them next, they'll all be dried, and it'll be time for the mold. And I'm just going on high heat, just enough to pop the bubble. Again, you don't want it to be for too long because you're going to damage your mold. So you want just enough to make sure that you're going to have a smooth glass-like surface. So there's that. We'll see you again for the molding. Good morning, everybody. Just a real quick, I'm going to do my demolding now while the kids are at the bus stop or getting ready to go to the bus stop. So I let these sit overnight. We put that final layer on yesterday. I let them sit overnight. So I would say they probably sat about 9 hours, maybe 10 hours. So like it's perfectly hard. They look really good. So hopefully the bottoms look good too. So when you take these molds out, you want to be real careful about the little pointed piece, especially if you're using this mold. If you're not gentle with it, it will separate from the mold and you won't be able to use it. So you still have just a little bit of flex. This much epoxy probably take about 2 days to cure till it's fully hardened. So if you, oh shoot. So if you look, these are the back. I must have had something in my mold, some little gold, because there's a little gold fleck there, but that's okay. But those are the back, and that's the front. And again, for the top, we use Olaf from Glitiful. And then I just use blue and white mica powder. We're using the sky blue and the pearl white. And we got those off Amazon. The link for those is below. So we go ahead and do all of them. So again, I'm peeling all those edges back. I'm holding the center part with my finger and then just pulling up the pieces. So what I do is after I have these all out of the mold, I have a small drying station. Oh, that one was a little harder to get out because as you see, there was epoxy right here that was overspill. So you kind of have to, you know, dig through it sometimes. Anyway, so I'm going to take these, I'm going to take them over to my drying station. I'm going to lay them flat. I'm going to put the puzzle together, and then I'm going to let it sit and cure for the last 2 days. The reason that I do that is because resin continues to like shrink until it's completely dry. So if I go ahead and put the puzzle together while it's drying, you know, I know for sure that it will fit even once it's shrunk. Because when you try and put them together first out of the mold, they don't always just fit together. They don't always snap together easily. Sometimes you have to work them in a little bit. So if you go ahead and do that and then let it dry, you'll know for sure when the customer gets them or when you go to use them that they all just snap together and drop into place. That one was actually pretty good because we left it in the mold for so long. So that's what it looks like completed with the puzzle piece in the middle. Let's see if I can get you out to get a good look. Okay, there we go. So this is definitely probably one of my favorite set of the week. I wish I would have got more of these little snowflake things, but I only saw this one pack in the closet. So I'm going to go back through my closet and double check just to make sure there aren't any more in there. If I find a link to order some, I will definitely post it in the description of this video for some